My son Ludwig turns 5 in April, and he has so many questions about everything. Here are some everyday conversation snippets. Are cookies healthy? No. Why? Or, why are vitamins good for our body? Or, why are we in the universe? Why is Earth a planet? Are all mountains volcanoes? No. Why? His questions are getting trickier by the day. Why does mowed lawn smell like melon? Often I struggle because I realize that my answer is beyond the scope of his understanding right now. Why do plants die? Why do dinosaurs die? Do rocks die? And often I have to admit that I don't have a satisfying answer. Why is tomorrow Monday? Because today is Sunday. Why? Or why do all cars drive on this side of the street? So that there are less accidents. But why do we drive on this side and not on the other side? Because at some point people decided that this is the side to drive on. But why? It's called a convention. On which side of the street we drive, how we greet each other, how we measure time, how and whom we marry, so on and so on. Conventions are hard to change because they are hard to question. It's like living in a big box, created and shaped over generations. And unless you don't fit in the box or you don't hit the wall, there's no need for you to question its limitedness and narrowness. But limits and walls there are. Jesus defies conventions again and again. After surprising Nicodemus in last week's gospel reading with the image that being born from above does not mean entering a second time into the mother's womb and being born, and inviting him into broadening his mind and understanding that allowing God's Spirit into one's life is like a new birth, as it's entering a completely new reality. This week, Jesus defies conventions again. He and his disciples have just left Judea, and on their way to Galilee, they travel through Samaria. And while the disciples have gone into the Samaritan city to buy food, Jesus, tired out by the journey, decides to rest at the well in the sweltering heat of noon. And here he encounters the Samaritan woman. So many things are unusual about this encounter, because following conventions, this dialogue between Jesus and the woman would not have happened, for at least 2 reasons. Firstly, Jews and Samaritans only have their contempt for each other in common. Samaritans were the descendants of Jews left behind during the Assyrian captivity around 740 BCE. And Jews and Samaritans disagree about everything that matters: how and where to worship God, and how to understand scriptures. While Jewish people worship God in the temple in Jerusalem, Samaritans worship on Mount Gerizim. The hatred, the enmity is such a deep and entrenched convention that you avoid social contact if possible. And the thing is, it is possible, totally. There are different routes up to Galilee that Jesus could have chosen. He could also decide not to sit at the well used by the Samaritan population. Or he could decide to not speak to the Samaritan woman. But he does all that. This is an intentional breaking of conventions. Secondly, he, as a religious teacher, talks to a woman. Something you don't do either. And Jesus takes it even one step further. He does not only speak to that woman, he asks her for a favor, a drink of water from the well. That is just something you don't do. It would be like asking your personal enemy for a favor. Do you have a personal enemy? Or a group of people you think as the other or them? Do you have a go-to scapegoat? Is it your boss or the city? Is it a political party or the youth? Is it a certain religious group or movement? Imagine asking them for help, opening up to them with a need. I am thirsty. Give me something to drink. This is how Jesus breaks the convention here. But it doesn't happen with an arrogant, let me show you how this thing is done attitude. Jesus opens up to the woman with a genuine need. He is thirsty, having walked through the countryside, sitting there at the well in the heat of the day. He is tired. He needs water. And again, Jesus, being Jesus, he had a choice. Does he need to wait for someone to get water out of that well, working miracles as he does? Surely not. But he decides to meet the woman, vulnerable, honest, and humble, asking to satisfy a basic human need, water. We never learn from the reading if his needs get satisfied, but his request sparks a conversation, and his honesty is met with her honesty. She doesn't have a husband, but her past speaks of suffering, dependence, and death, being married to 5 husbands so far and living with a man that she's not married to. A shameful, sinful state according to the conventions at that time. Therefore, it is not surprising that she comes to the well in the heat of the day, while all the other women of the town come in the morning when it is still cool outside. She doesn't want to be seen. She wants to be invisible. She says, "Sir, give me this water so that I may never be thirsty or have to keep coming here to draw water." But Jesus sees her, hears her, and doesn't change his attitude. The promise of living water is for her. Jesus reveals himself as Messiah, and she believes him. She opens up to the new reality that unfurls when you feel loved unconditionally, accepted, not judged. Drinking from the living water quenches her thirst and allows her to escape the conventions that hold her bound and hurt. We humans like conventions, and it is hard to escape them. We live in them, we shape them, and they shape our world. To recognize conventions, the prejudices and stereotypes, and the walls we shape and build, we need to be able and willing to recognize our boxed narrowness, and then be able and willing to see beyond our box. That is neither easy nor comfortable, as our box also provides us with a sense of security and helps our decision-making. What is right, what is wrong, who is right, who is wrong, what to wear and say and do. But the woman at the well invites us into discipleship with an openness for unexpected encounter, the willingness to misunderstand and then ask, and the will to leave conventional ideas behind, an invitation to deeper insight. In the end, she leaves her water jug behind and runs off to the city to share her experience with the people there. She's so changed by the encounter and the conversation with Jesus that she forgets about her original plan of drawing water. She forgets about her shame and her desire to be invisible. Instead, she, the nameless Samaritan woman, becomes the first witness of Jesus' messiahship in the Gospel of John, and the first non-Jewish convert, and an apostle, as her witness convinced many Samaritans in the town. The reason I started my sermon with my son's relentless asking why is because I think that why is not only a good word, but also an attitude to help us knock down the walls of the boxes we live in. Why is a word that we seem to forget as we grow older. Why is an invitation to dive deeper. Question that what we perceive as fair is fair. that what we perceive as given is given. Y invites us to consider different perspectives, reconsider formed opinions, and hopefully, ultimately, leads us to God, the living water, unconditional love. Amen.